Hi everyone, it's Paul here at Skyland Recruitment. As you know, we actually film the Digital Tech Leaders series where we shine the spotlight on real leaders within their space who've done incredible work. And I'm really excited to have Kuldip Madar join us today. Kuldip's the MD of a company called Arcomed. Thanks ever so much, Kuldip, for joining us. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much.
Brilliant, good stuff. So for the benefit of our viewers, Kuldip, can you give us a bit of an understanding of your background in terms of your career so far?
Yeah, thanks, Paul, and great to be here. So I'm a medical electronics graduate from Liverpool.
Okay.
Pretty much went straight into med tech. So my first biggest job was 10 years at B. Braun Medical, selling
Okay.
IV devices.
Yeah.
So the first 5 years was as a rep in London, and then as a sales manager.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were like one of 3 reps originally recruited by B. Braun to launch the space range of products.
Okay.
So we went from nothing, and when I left, we were doing about 10 million a year.
So was just so I understand, so did you do like an engineering technical degree and then you kind of pivoted over to sales, like commercial?
Yeah, so after university, I did a couple of years as a field service engineer.
Okay.
We made blood gas analysis equipment, and then I randomly went off into like a QA role working for Vickers Aerospace.
Yeah.
And then then I was very much back in B. Braun. So but yeah, I did a medical electronics degree which had a strong focus on both engineering and clinical.
Brilliant. So I would assume then that the technical and the commercial background certainly helped, because after B. Braun you then moved on, was it over to Stryker Medical?
Yeah, absolutely. So having 10 years at B. Braun, I was approached by Stryker for a sales leadership role, but having spoken to them, I ended up running their technical services team.
Okay.
So it was a leadership role managing the field service team and also the repair center, but also there was a piece of work that needed to be done, which is like to commercialize the service contracts.
Yeah.
So again, I entered the role when the business was doing about 1 million a year in service contracts, and then when I left after 8 years, we were doing 15 million.
Brilliant.
So again, it was the whole startup growing the team and the organization was which is what attracted to me at the start, and then it was great to see the results.
And that's how you and I actually met through the work with Stryker. And then actually, so you've now joined a company called Arcomed. So you're now only what, six weeks in?
Yeah, no, it's my first month.
Right, okay, good stuff. So for our viewers, just for them, can you give us a bit of an overview of Arcomed?
Yeah, so I've known Arcomed since my first day at B. Braun, because they were one of the competitors, together with BD and the likes of Baxter. So, and we, although we had 0% market share, we never really regarded Arcomed as a direct competitor because of the product platform wasn't in line with what the customers expected. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, Arcomed had a couple of breakthroughs and some, NHS trust, but they weren't regarded as a #1 competitor. And then I met one of our colleagues, which I worked with at B. Braun, who now is the Vice President of Global Sales. She contacted me for this opportunity, and then when I saw how Arcomed had advanced in terms of their technological platform, I was very surprised, but also very happy to see that they had managed to address all the individual clinical needs from every department, but still using a standard technology platform. meaning that it was the base product, but they had truly given the customers what they wanted, especially for areas like for patient control, anesthesia, and also for target controlled infusions for theatres.
Okay.
It wasn't a solution which like 95% met the customer's needs. It was literally like giving them exactly what they wanted. Yeah, then I was interested, because the main point was that these guys had been operating mainly in the European continent since the 1970s, but the UK never really had a focus. And I thought, well, I could help this team get off the ground and, you know, become a formidable competitor. So yeah, hence why I'm here.
You mentioned something then in terms of like the ability, because all of the companies, and let's face it, you've got some huge stock market listed businesses operating in this space, okay? And everyone's trying to achieve like that, you know, that product that really gives 100% to what the customer's needs are. Everyone's striving for it. However, it's easier said than done. So how do you think that Arcomed have achieved that through their products?
The important point, and it is very unique to Arcomed compared to the other players, that we just operate in the infusion therapy market.
Okay.
So, and hence why it's, if you say it's a smaller company, but I would use the word, you know, boutique, if anything. The key difference is when I see the fact that I'm able to pick the phone up and speak to somebody in R&D and suggest an idea, and that it could potentially be rolling out of production within 4-8 weeks time.
That's sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've just been party to a conversation where a customer wanted a slightly different disposable, and we were able to have the conversation, and it was a small change. But that could take months, if not, you know, years sometimes in a big corporation, because those R&D resources are spread across many product platforms, while these guys just operate, you know, just on IV therapy. Hence, the fact that they can develop products at such a speed, giving the customers what they want, was also another reason why, you know, it attracted me to Arcomed.
Brilliant. So in terms, well, the feedback loop then is really short, so the customers are then happy, and therefore that's what a barrier to entry for the other competitors, right? Because your technology is always going to stay on the pulse of what the clinicians and the patients need.
Yeah, I mean, I've already been out with some of our sales and clinical managers, and from the product demonstrations I've seen and not just for general ward base or for intensive care areas, but for areas for like PCA and TCI, you know, where you need a lockable syringe. The feedback I've seen it's not just like, hey, this does the job like our other old equipment did, but it's more than that. It does the job and then it gives them more. So the feedback I've seen from all areas has been, you know, overwhelming. So yeah, I mean, they really have grasped the market and given the customer what they need.
So with this opportunity then, because now I can understand why you joined, you know, you've got some real unique properties with the product and the process being R&D, that feedback loop, and then staying ahead of the competition. More importantly, giving the customers what they need. But what's the vision for you in terms of where the business is now in the UK versus what's the potential for yourself there, Calder? Not you, but the potential for the UK business.
No, absolutely. So what, the IV pump market is worth for circa around 100 million a year. We're nowhere near scratching that. And I know what it is. The products are very much suited to the market, but yeah, like with a lot of organizations that are quite prominent on the continent, haven't had the UK focus.
Yeah.
And in this case, it's just a case of timing. So we've ended up with this new technology in terms of the platform of the ID devices, but now Arcomed need focus in the UK to build out an organization on all fronts. So what I mean by that is having a strong culture and organization for sales, for our clinical team, but then backed up by a strong technical services and operational support functions.
Yeah.
And they have started, so we can see that from some of the business that has been won, and new NHS hospitals coming on board. But what we now need to do is further build on that capability by adding more heads, hence why we're working together.
Yeah.
And then at that point, once we've built the capability, we'll be able to reproduce the success, not just in the areas where we're active, but all over the UK.
So, I mean, using your experience then, you've obviously, in what's worked in big business, big corporations, you can use those approaches, those models, think about, okay, how can it work on this, in terms of scaling Arcomed in the UK, and then ultimately benefit from the reward. Yeah,
absolutely. So the foundations are there. We need to now add the appropriate level of caliber in terms of people across the different territories, making sure the fit is right and they're very customer centric. And we'll replicate the model across the UK as we grow. Obviously, we need to make sure from a P&L point of view, we can invest into further heads. But from what I've seen, the opportunities where we have missed or haven't won, it's not because of the product, it's just we haven't had the people to address those opportunities at the right level.
So what would you say the main reason then customers choose Arcomed? No.
So, and I've asked this question already. In particular, a new customer that we're implementing right now in London, and the reasons were very, very simple. It's an easy to use, safe product, which can be tailored to meet all the clinical areas. And what I mean by that is that there's a particular focus on patient control anesthesia, where you need a strong device for a lockable syringe.
Yeah.
But also making sure our anesthetists have all the different algorithms so they can deliver propofol in the manner which they see, which fits with their practice. And then the other reason is the strong focus and also the success stories that we've had on data integration. So that's where you're linking in the ID devices to the hospital network.
Right. Okay.
And that can be like hardwired. We also have a strong Wi-Fi capability now. And this is not to make a big, promotion. So because all manufacturers should be doing this, but we're the lead on making sure that we are completely PVC free for all our disposables.
Okay.
So obviously the environmental impact of that, you don't need to explain, but yeah, we've taken a step forward and become PVC free, while a lot of manufacturers are still going through the process or haven't even started.
And when you think about when it comes to infusion in any hospital, how many units versus how much they use the disposable adds up very quickly.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So a standard volumetric pump could use up to 150 disposables per year per pump. Wow. And if they got several hundred, you're talking thousands.
Yeah. So that's huge. And we spoke obviously I think it was a couple of days ago, and it was we was talking about reasons why clinicians love it, but you also had a comment from a customer that it was a very simple thing, but one of they've been using a pump, and it was one of the most quietest pumps, and therefore when it comes to things like patient recovery, sleep is one of the most important things. And we all know hospital wards, they can be quite noisy, but anything to reduce the noise, you've also looked at that part as well for patients.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, and when I was at B Braun, that wasn't really a talking point, but when you move from some of the other IV volumetric pumps, noise is a big difference.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I heard that direct from a patient who was linked to an Arcomed volumetric pump. So
oh, it was from a patient, even better. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was shadowing an implementation in London, and the patient where we were going live, and the patient themselves mentioned it, who was on long-term treatment, and that was their direct feedback. That this is so much quieter. I can, take a nap. So,
hugely important. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So why do you think then, when it comes to the business, so you're in scaling mode right now, but why do you think people join the business? Why do you think people stay with Arcomed?
Yeah. So the like I said, the business itself is family owned. It's very agile. Well, it's become agile because the close link our R&D teams have with our customers.
Yeah.
So it's very easy for our reps and our clinical staff to feedback ideas with the belief that they've got a good chance of the customer getting what they need. And I'm not a great advocate of making sure we have thousands of different types of products to meet every single particular need. But there is plentiful examples of where we've been able to address the needs of the customer because they're unique, or they've highlighted a practice which we weren't aware of, which is common, across other hospitals.
So people
it's a flat structure.
Yeah.
And it's a small team. So from a team engagement point of view, there's I guess from a team engagement point of view, because we're quite small, everybody knows each other.
Yeah. You can be integral, right? You're an integral player to a business.
Yeah, so there's close contacts with the enabling functions back at HQ. So operations, technical services, finance. Everybody knows each other, and it's a small family.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that's an important part of our DNA, and how we keep that as we grow will be an important part.
Yeah, absolutely. And the HQ is in Zurich, is that right?
Our HQ is in Zurich, yes.
Yeah.
And then we have a distribution and repair function here in Basildon.
Okay, got you. And then in terms of things like, so when it comes to like training and development, if people were to join the business, that they can expect, obviously you've already got subject matter experts working within the chosen field, whether it's field service, whether it's sales, and then you've got that additional support for it from Switzerland.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's local colleagues that will be involved.
Yeah.
And as part of the onboarding plan, and this is for all positions we're recruiting for, will be product training in Switzerland. There'll be training on our software systems, and then there'll be introductions that we would have to do locally here. We're using local staff, introduction to existing customers, the different territories. So right now we're using our Swiss office HQ as a hub.
Yeah.
And then until we grow the business, we would need to think about what kind of functionality the UK office will play.
Perfect. Okay. Well, what I'm going to do then, I think we should definitely put a date in the diary from 12 to 18 months from here to have a follow-up call, because it'd be really exciting to see where the journey started and where it's going to be. But thanks ever so much for coming on today's show, Coldib. I wish you all the luck, obviously, with growing the business and obviously building out the UK team to help support patients in the NHS.
You're welcome, Paul. Yeah, I'll be delighted to speak again.
Wonderful. Take care. Thank you.